G'day there, Damien Patterson from Integrity Property Education. And if you're looking for property investment advice, strategies, general information, you've come to the right place. This week's blog is about why it's a mistake to focus solely on rental yield when trying to get your investment properties. Now, most property investors very quickly work out that the cash flow of your property is really important. You can only own so many properties where you have to tip in the money, so you want to find those properties that pay for themselves. Most investors respond to that by looking for yield. But today is a cautionary tale about how looking for yield in isolation can be a mistake. Now, whenever you're buying a property, an investment property, and you want to see whether it pays for itself, yield is only one of many considerations in the total equation. And this is why you need to think more broadly. Now, when you buy a property, the first thing you must do is put a line down a piece of paper and put income on one side and expenses on the other. Now, there are 9 different factors that affect the cash flow of a property. The first factors are on the income side. Now, rent is one source of income, but so is your tax return you're going to get for that property. So if you focus solely on rent, you're ignoring the other 8 factors. Now, a tax return will be generated from all the claims associated with that property, and in particular, the depreciation. So what we want to see is we want to get the best yield possible, yes, but we also want to get the best tax return possible. How do we do that? We maximise our depreciation. How do we maximise depreciation? Why is depreciation different from the rest of these expenses? Well, the rest of these expenses we have to pay for the privilege. Money has to leave our bank account. They're what we call cash deductions. We've paid for that and we can claim 32.5% or 37% back on tax, but that's really a false economy. It'd be better that we just didn't pay it in the first place. But depreciation, however, is a totally different kettle of fish. Depreciation is an on-paper deduction. And for a brand new house these days, you can get anywhere from 10 to 15 grand depreciation claim. The beauty of it is, though, no money leaves your bank account. So you get to claim that much money and get a return on it without having to spend any of your own cash. So very, very important. And then we've got the expenses. Now, there's a whole heap of expenses: loan payments, body corporate fees, rates, rental management fees, insurance and maintenance. Now, each of those can blow your cash flow out of the water. You might have a ripper of a yield. You might have a 7, 8, even higher percentage yield, but then at the end of the day, you're still not making any money. You scratch your head, you wonder why. Well, some of these might be the culprit. So first of all, how do we keep our interest, our loan repayments down? Well, most investors will elect to do interest-only loans. Now, some people say, well, how do I pay the property off? Well, you don't really worry about that because you're going to own the property forever. So if you're going to own the property forever, interest-only is fine, because if you think about it this way, in 1970 you could buy a house in Brisbane for $8,000, and if you had a $7,000 mortgage, well, 45 years later, in 2015, you wouldn't care. You know, it'd be so irrelevant. So, you know, as prices go up and rents go up, the debt will seem irrelevant. And also, when it comes closer to retirement, you can just restructure your finances to pay out your own home and have the investment property still servicing their own loans. Now, body corporate fee. How do we minimise a body corporate fee? Well, the best way I know is to eliminate it altogether and not buy units or townhouses. Now, units and townhouses historically don't perform as well as houses because they have a greater building content and a smaller land content, whereas houses have perform better capital growth wise because they're predominantly land based, but also they don't have any body corporate fees. Don't buy units, don't buy townhouses, then you won't have body corporate fee and you'll help your cash flow. Ask anyone who's got a property with body corporate, they'll tell you they hate the body corporate fee. Rates. Not too much you can do about rates. Rates are generally just going to be what they are. Rental management fee. Now, some people would try and screw down the rental manager. I think what you want to do there is be very careful about that. Just be in the market rate and look after your rental manager like gold. You don't want to screw your rental manager down, because if you do that, you'll become their lowest priority. And when you're their lowest priority, they give you the worst tenants and they give you the longest vacancies, and that becomes a false economy. Treat your rental managers like gold. Don't worry too much about the rental management fee. Insurance. Again, insurance is something that we want to be middle of the market and just make sure that we're covering ourselves for everything we need. Don't be too tight, because you might end up with an insurance policy that's not worth the paper it's written on and doesn't cover anything. And then maintenance. Well, maintenance can blow things out. I see this all the time. People buy old properties trying to be clever, because they're chasing yield, and they end up with a really old property. One year they've got to replace the carpet, next year they've got to replace the curtains, next year they've got to repaint, next year they've got to replace plumbing, and every year there's a massive expense, like $5,000 a year type expense, and it just wipes their cash flow out. If you buy brand new, you're not going to have any maintenance costs for the first couple of years. If anything, the first 6 months will be under warranty, and so on. So buy brand new will reduce that as well. And then, of course, the depreciation buy brand new. So just remember, when you're buying your properties, piece of paper, line down the middle, consider all the factors. Don't just focus on yield, because if you focus on yield alone, you'll end up in the lower end of the market where you get the crappy properties with the high maintenance costs, the not so good tenants, and you'll be nothing but grief, and you will not achieve your desired goal. That's it from me this week. Until next time, I'll see you later.